Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to do a quick live stream. It's November 10th, 2018, and although the year is not quite over, I think I can sum up 2018 in pretty much one word. Disillusionment. A feeling of disappointment resulting from the discovery that something is not as good as one believed it to be. I think a lot of us have become disillusioned with a lot of the things we're following this year. I think it just, there's so many examples of it. Where do I start? How about with the QAnon conspiracy? All these 50,000 plus sealed indictments that were supposed to be, the deep state purge that was supposed to happen, and Hillary Clinton and Obama supposedly were already secretly arrested, and all this nonsense. It was supposed to happen on Halloween. It didn't actually happen, or it didn't make headline news. They said it. Then this rumors that were going around saying that it did happen, and all kinds of other silliness. There are lots of predictions that just have not come true. Lots of spreading of false hopes. And I hope people are feeling that disillusionment with a lot of these things we've been following, because I've been calling these things out, many of them, from the get-go. Especially to the Stars Academy and Tom DeLonge and his crew. They've changed their mission statement now to the Stars Academy strives to be a powerful vehicle for change by creating a consortium among science, aerospace, and entertainment that will work collectively to allow gifted researchers the freedom to explore exotic science and technologies with the infrastructure and resources to rapidly transition them to products that can change the world. How I wish that were true. They've so far got 2,547 investors, which is a very large amount. They've got a lot of people's attention, including what is the guy? Sorry, that was the wrong video. But anyways, I tried to do my own thing with Hover Brothers, as many of you know. Some of you don't know what went on there, and I'll briefly explain. Is that To the Stars Academy said that they were going to build craft, and they wanted to do beamed energy propulsion. Well, this is not what they said to begin with. This is what they're going with now, is basically beamed energy propulsion and advanced electrogravitic propulsion, which is really not that advanced, really. It's been around since the 20s and has been sort of experimented with to death by a lot of researchers in the field that built tons of these lifter things and played around with them. They have to be very, very light in order to get any kind of serious lift off them. You'd have to build an enormous craft, and in order to lift a human being, just a human, with electrogravitic propulsion, which is basically ion wind. Beam energy propulsion, I've talked about a lot of different types of beamed energy propulsion, done a lot of videos on it with a lot of the stuff that was covered in Paul Laviolette's book on Secrets to Anti-Gravity Propulsion. And we've talked a lot about these things on this channel, and that's sort of why I created Hover Brothers. This site, I'm thinking about dismantling this site as it appears now, and I want to take these other articles. I want to make it like more of a more of a collective research bin. I've kind of been doing that with the Facebook page for Hover Brothers. Actually, I put together a Facebook page for Hover Brothers, and I have like a ton of articles that I've been sharing about anti-gravity news and stuff that's been going on there. This being the top story that happened this November, the Alpha G and G bar experiments, which are going to take place at CERN with antimatter, testing the gravitational propulsion or repulsion of antimatter. Yeah, so this stuff is kind of what I've been trying to focus people's attention to, because I just see a lot of, it's been, they said that they were going to release and do all this stuff about, it was going to be disclosure. I got these people like saying that it's going to be disclosure. There's this guy I've been arguing with on Twitter. Oh my God, the stuff that you look here. Has there been any like big news stories. I've been following everything that they've come out with, and it's just like, it seems just like a bunch of, you know, smoke blowing. It doesn't. There's no like substance here. There's nothing I can dig into or really sink my teeth into. There's no scientific papers being published or academic level research being conducted. There's no like laboratory being set up to do this. They're outsourcing like all this work, it seems, and they're but busy with these pieces of artifacts that they're claiming are from UFOs or from a UFO or an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Yet they've said absolutely nothing about advanced material. Like I've watched even some of the interviews they put out with Hal Puthoff and Steve Justice, and nowhere is quasi-crystals or metamaterials mentioned even once. And those are like the materials that, you know, we've known for like a decade more here on this channel. We've been talking about metamaterials and quasi-crystals and photonic circuits, and, you know, real technologies that are going to, you know, revolutionize the world. You know, we look up stuff on, you know, this is a DARPA project. DARPA awards 3.2 million for nanophotonics. Why do you think they're researching this stuff? Invisibility cloaks, even experiments that, you know, hypotheses for using, you know, metamaterial like materials to create warp drive skins. This stuff is it's just crazy. I mean, these guys have obviously taken a lot of the attention away, and actually bet someone on Twitter. I bet this guy. I've been going back and forth with this guy Ryan. Let me find him. I might have it on notifications here. Oh yeah, this guy. Is it him? No, this isn't him. I replied to this other guy Ryan, who's a big fan of Disclosure. He's always putting videos out on Disclosure, and he's got long black hair and a big beard. He likes to dress up like Jesus and pretend like he's like the Messiah, bringing disclosure to the people and stuff. Man, he's just like a real funny guy to watch, and he's so like pumped on this disclosure nonsense. Like, you know, basically like I feel like I was back in 2003 when I was getting into Disclosure Project and Behold a Pale Horse and Bill Cooper's stuff back in, like, you know, what's that, 16 years ago, you know, before I became disillusioned, before I felt disillusionment with a lot of the stuff because of all what I learned just researching this stuff and being involved in it for 16 years. But yeah, this was kind of the way I felt about the Orion project, and, you know, how back in 2001 he came out with all those people, and then he made this like warning to the government that if they didn't release free energy technology within a year, that he was going to, you know, release it, that they were going to do it with the Orion project and with the Disclosure project and all that, and it never happened. And it's like the same hoodwink game, dog and pony show all over again is what I'm seeing here with To the Stars Academy. And I've said this from the get-go, and you know, this guy's like, oh, what are people going to say when they eat Disclosure? And he made some post about, I gotta go back and find it now. I can link people to it in the description of this video below, but he made a post about I was going to bet, debunkers want to bet $50 that Disclosure is not going to happen. I'm like, well, if Disclosure happens, like, money's going to be worthless because we'll have free energy technology and anti-gravity technology. So, I mean, what's the point? Why not make a bet? So I told him I'll give him 10 to 1. I'll give him 100 to 1 odds that, you know, if this turns out to be true, I'll give him 100 to 1 odds. I'll give him $5,000 if this turns out to be true, because money's going to be essentially useless at that point. We won't even need it. So what's the point? And if I'm wrong, if I'm right, then he only has to give me $50, and I'll give him like 2 years for Disclosure to happen. I'll give him 5 years. I'll give him 5 years. So 5 years. Everyone who thinks out there thinks that Disclosure is going to happen. You can all pay me $50. That would be great, but. You know, because if Disclosure did happen, money would be worthless anyway. We'd have free energy and anti-gravity technology. It would basically make money essentially useless or meaningless. If we could all have free energy, no one would have to buy gas or I mean, it would just it would just fuck everything up. So anyways, I just thought it was funny that these people are betting so much on this, and that's just been my whole get-go. But I'm going to turn the Hover Brothers site into a consortium, my own consortium of science articles and science materials. That is kind of what I'm going to turn it into, to basically show what utter fools and idiots these people are with To the Stars Academy. So that's what I'm going to do with Hover Brothers. That's kind of what the get-go. The whole idea was, well, not the whole idea. I really have been doing a lot of research into this subject for the past 16 years. This is something I've been hooked on as a physicist, wanting to find out all these things. This is, you know, for real though. Not I don't want to become illusioned so that I can be disillusioned later. When I find out that this stuff's just a hoax and not real. I've been really trying to sort through this stuff for people. Anyways, this is where we are now at the end of 2018, and I don't think much is going to change in the next month unless you know, something really crazy comes out. Am I a fan of Dr. Stephen Greer? You know, I was a big fan of the Disclosure Project and what he was doing or claiming to be doing back in, you know, 2001 to 2004. I think I was probably a fan of his, and then I started not becoming a fan so much of his. I found out that he was engaging in these trips where he was charging people lots of money to bring them out into the desert to go and see UFOs, and that he was like, basically he was playing games with people too on some of these trips, and then using people's beliefs and this stuff to make them think they were actually making contact with aliens, and going on these trips to make contact with aliens and charge them ridiculous amounts of money too, to go out in the desert and do these sightings and stuff, that protocol stuff. I tried that protocol myself and I never had much luck with it. That CCE5 or whatever for contacting aliens that he says you do it just by calling them. I think you have to have it's like hypnosis. It's like if you can trick your mind into believing something, then it actually exists for you. It actually becomes like a physical reality, because in your own head, but to you it's real, even though it may not be in reality. Yeah, I gotta get Dan on here, man. I'm gonna get Dan on soon. He's going through a lot of bullshit in his own personal life, which I say we all are really at this point. 2018's been a hell of a year for me too. I got a video coming out on that too, of just some of the other side bullshit that's been happening to me all year. But yeah, I've been trying to get Dan to come on here and have a show with me, because but I think I'm gonna wait until the actual movie comes out. We got all our ammunition ready. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Me and him have really been on the Bob Lazar case hot with when we were working with Ed Fouché, and Ed Fouché was big on Bob Lazar's tail, because you know, he was a guy saying that he had military credentials to actually have been deployed at Area 51, and that he actually worked there, could show it with his military records and his background, of which he showed that he was stationed at Nellis and you know, but never like had a smoking gun proof document that would show that. But I mean, he had all the right credentials to have actually been there, I must say. And but Ed did a lot of work and knew a lot about real military operations and special access programs and the real reality of intelligence operations, and was able to help dispel a lot of. He definitely didn't believe Bob Lazar, and has fueled my whole thing with going against Bob Lazar and trying to out him as a fraud. That and the whole issue of element 115 definitely not being the secret to anti-gravity. Just things like that. I've been trying to show people that, you know, these other avenues, and not to say that Ed Fouché's explanation of the Nazi, basically recycled Nazi Bell experiment, anti-gravity centrifuge with mercury plasma. It's recycled Nazi Bell stuff that's been around. It's almost certainly where he borrowed it from or got it from. I've never seen any hardcore proof of a TR3B the contractors who might have developed it. Where's like there's a solid video of that TR3B. I haven't like seen like super definitive proof. Dan's convinced that it's real and that it exists and it's that super top secret and stuff. But after just my own research and experience with everything that I found out from Ed Fouché, and that after he got on the Science Channel to go on the UFO show on Discovery Channel. No, not the Science Channel. It was on Discovery Channel. He went on the UFO program, and they were supposed to interview me and have me on the show too to talk about this stuff. But after I found out some of the information that he was pushing to their show wasn't real, I sent it to the producers, and I was like, you guys, you can't like publish this. It's not real stuff. Like that picture he gave you is not really like a TR3B. It's a piece of space tile off the space shuttle, and I found like a super high definition photo of it. You can see it clearly. Here it is, and like I don't want to go forward with this. As soon as I wasn't no longer on board with this hoodwink that they were trying to sell to people, they dropped me from the show. They said, no, we're not even going to bother coming out there to interview. They interviewed the other guys, put them on the show. I think Dan was actually on the show too, and they interviewed Ed, and Ed literally the night before they were going out there to interview him, he called me like a million times, and like I was busy, and like he made me get on the phone with him for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. He sat down with me and was asking me all these questions about like the Nazi bell and the anti-gravity and like how it would work, and all these questions about it. And after a while of answering this, I realized, he's just like milking me for information so that he can write it all down so he can repeat it to Discovery Channel to have something that sounds more scientifically credible than this whatever he was going to make up or come up with himself. And after that, I was kind of like, oh man, this is just I don't know what's up with that. Greer, even if he was in it for the right intentions, he's got wrong ideas, and he's got mixed up on a lot of stuff. So it's like the same exact thing that we've been seeing on all of ufology, man. There's so much infighting in ufology. You've never seen anything like this in the history of this entire field. Of course, it's grown exponentially since the internet. It's sort of just taken over, but the amount of disinformation out there and the amount of young people getting into this subject and just getting into UFOs and UFO research, and getting hoodwinked themselves and getting misled by all this disinformation that they haven't yet figured out and sorted through for themselves, it's just created a volatile mix on the internet everywhere right now. It's pretty nuts what's going on right now out there. Yeah, I don't know. The Nazi bell idea, I no longer think that that's a viable. There's no real. I mean, the Podkletnov was kind of like gave me hope that there might be something there with the superconductivity, and that rotating superconductors might be a secret to anti-gravity. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, there hasn't been a ton of detailed studies on that phenomenon to really like. I haven't seen anything like that done, and it's difficult to perform those kind of experiments yourself. So I haven't done them, of course, myself. But it just seems to me like this quantum entanglement business and what's going on at CERN. This is more in line with how gravity is probably going to turn out. From what I've seen from my research, I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think that UFOs flying around, that these things are using electrogravitic propulsion or beamed microwave propulsion or any of that sort of business. I think they're using warp drive technology, and I think they're using some other types of quantum entanglement technologies. So that's kind of where I'm at now with that business, and trying to push people towards more legitimate research. But yeah, in my last video there, I did the 9/11. Yeah, the 9/11 research, man. Yeah, honestly, like I did a lot of research on 9/11. It was one of the big things that got me into realizing that there's definitely more than we're being told. Um, I've been researching 9/11, of course, probably since 2004 when I started getting into it, and I know I know quite a bit about it, and I've been going back and forth with that debunker on the thermite stuff, and he's just trying to take each individual point and draw enough doubt and blow enough smoke that he can really nullify the issues to the point where oh, we could draw like doubt on each one of these issues, but together all those things stand, like especially this sample. This is the one scientific sample of steel that showed these melting and the sulfidation attacks on the steel. That's really scientifically what convinced me that they were covering something up with everything that they had done. The destruction of evidence that happened, the unprecedented destruction of evidence, how they collected and went about destroying the evidence. It just makes perfect sense from my standpoint of looking at it. Like, I know that these debunkers that like they require like they basically want more proof than you could ever possibly come up with in order to convince them that this was a reality. They require more proof than you could ever like realistically give them. So it's almost like pointless arguing with these types of people, especially when they reveal their I've been going. I gotta find the whole conversation I've had with Mick West and link people to it so they can see it. But this guy is just escaping the rabbit hole. How to debunk conspiracy theories using facts, logic, and respect. Okay. Well, he doesn't use facts. He doesn't use logic, and he's been pretty respectful from my arguments with him, except for the fact he just denies everything, even when it's like blatantly obvious. So let me. I'll get back into this. This guy's funny because I have all these comments saved too. The thread I had back and forth with him on Facebook recently on the 9/11 Truth Group on Facebook, and it just shows dishonesty when is someone who believes that fire brought down those buildings. It's just if you already believe that fire and the impacts alone could have weakened the steel and brought that whole building down in 10 seconds and 12 seconds respectively, the Twin Towers, or Building 7 at 6.5 seconds. Then when I say like, oh well, what if they used a little bit of thermite to, it's an accelerant and can be used to, accelerate this process of weakening the steel, especially if they had paint on nanothermite that you put on the beams. There was evidence of fireproofing upgrades that took place inside the towers and renovations on the floors that coincided with the impact. There's whole Turner Construction Company went and did a whole bunch of fireproofing upgrades. So they basically sprayed on this fireproofing stuff. It could have been nanothermite paint on nanothermites, and if those reacted, it would cause whatever it's touching to be heated first before other things, and it would accelerate the process. But as soon as I start talking about nanothermite is all this, or thermite or demolition or charges, suddenly there needs to be blasting caps, rigging, wiring, pre-weakening of the structure, all evidence of they need to be also the thermite charges. If thermite brought down the building, they need to be specifically timed and organized and strategically placed and timed. And how did that happen? How do you do that with thermite? If thermite slowly weakens the steel and slowly does this, how do you that's literally the questions he was asking me. It's like, no, wait a minute, it doesn't have to. You already believe that fire did this, so why can't an accelerated fire do it with accelerants? And it doesn't make sense. I literally went through that HTA fire manual and went through all these points. He replied, oh, well, some of these things were missing. Some of those characteristics weren't observed. He said, well, these are commonly reported characteristics. If you get 5 out of the 7 there, it probably is good enough to say that, yeah, there probably should have been, some type of thermite test, a thermite investigation. You know what I mean? There should have been. It doesn't have to be all of them. It only needs to be a few of them. And then he thinks he can, well, I'm going to whittle away at each one of these points individually and just try to, like, dull these to, these fine points to an edge. And that's sort of been his, like, focus. It's like, well, I can draw skepticism on this one and this one and this one, and then say that you don't have, he's just like, it's moving the goalposts and saying, all right, well, for your thermite theory to be true, you have to have timed, literally, like, sever the beam in half exactly, and all these timed, like, explosions to bring the building down. But you believe that fire alone did it, like a little bit of weakened steel with some fire. Like, who's to say, like, a little bit of thermite, in the building couldn't have made that happen only faster? I mean, you take your black box, that computer model, and you just rig it a little tiny, you tweak it a little tiny bit with thermite charges. It doesn't seem to me like it's that far fetched. It's like these people are saying, well, why should we test for they're arguing, they're saying that we're making an argument from ignorance on the side of conspiracy theorists, that they're saying, like, because I'm trying to tell him, like, well, the only way to really prove that there wasn't thermite used would be to actually test for it and show that it wasn't used. And they never tested for it. They literally avoided it in their entire report. Their entire report was completely avoided talking about that issue or that angle, or even examining or thinking about it even as a thought. It doesn't exist in their scenario world, which is ridiculous, because it's the number one, scientifically credible scenario that's ever been put forward against the official story. I mean, unless you think that, space lasers and UFOs or scalar weapons or the Hutchison effect, neither one have been proven in a laboratory to even exist. But some people out there still believe that over thermite is what brought down the buildings. But I personally believe that a lot of those people are computer automated disinfo bots. But anyways, but aside from that point, and I brought up all these points about the NIST investigation and what a complete fraud it was. So this guy just stands by it unquestionably, as if it's like the absolute truth and the end all say all in science. Well, why would they look for thermite? It's like, and then he's telling me that it's up to me. That I'm basically saying, oh, well, thermite existed, prove that it doesn't. No, that's not what we're saying. It's like, that's not begging the question. It's like begging the question and saying, well, like, I think it's called begging the question, where no, it's not begging the question. It's argument from ignorance, is saying that, well, you can't prove that it doesn't exist, so therefore it does. And that's not at all what we're saying. It's that it makes it look very suspicious when you have an unprecedented building collapse and behavior of observed in a collapse, which doesn't it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't look realistic. I'm going to show you the video. Let me get the video out, because I really want to bust out this video, and I put together a.
Were not connected with the
extraordinary magnitude, try to determine who did this.
This is the only video evidence, right? And we've been going back and forth on Twitter about this. So, like, why isn't there more evidence of thermite if thermite was used? Why isn't there, like, evidence all over the place, evidence everywhere? And it's kind of interesting that this is like the best visual video evidence we have for actually dripping, pouring molten steel. And of course, these debunkers are saying that it could be aluminum, because that's the part where the aircraft went. That this is the corner that the aircraft landed in. The impact hole's right here. So if the engine went in right here, it probably wouldn't be stuck right there. It'd probably be broken apart and lodged well within the building. But some of them believe that this is the impact hole from the engine crater. That's the engine aluminum from the engine, which is melting and dripping out the side. He also tries to say that this isn't white hot or yellow hot. It's only orange. It looks pretty white to me in this image. I don't know, like the color adjustments that may have been done on this. I'd like to get the original camera, footage feed. But it looks like there's these beams right in here. They might have been severed and hanging over from exposed, from the aircraft. And there's fire here, of course. But it's interesting that this. I looked at the whole. I have another version of the video, and it literally this molten metal flow starts about a minute and 10 seconds before the collapse of the building. So this thermite flow is literally timed in conjunction with like the end collapse of the building. It literally falls apart right here. This is all like done to time. So it literally, we see this molten metal flow start, or whatever this molten material is. You hear that? The guy's telling them that they don't have to be that close. So this could be, burning embers. There's a big piece of something, right here that you can see fall, but it falls apart. That's interesting because it comes out of the middle of this beam. You can see this beam hanging up here, and then this piece of slag and this whole thing just gets pushed right out and then falls. So it's like, where did it come from? Where did this thing come from? That's fire. So if that's aluminum or something other than thermite coming out of that beam, that's spraying out less than a minute before the whole building collapses. I mean, it's just, maybe it's not. Why is it pulsing? Why is it coming out like in pulses? Another person was like, oh, well, what if it was an electrical line and it was arcing metal sparks? Well, of course, it's not the right color for electrical arc or metal sparks. It'd be bluish, white, not just white, but bluish. And it would be, there's also building codes. You can look up electrical building codes, and they don't allow high voltage circuits, high voltage power lines to be run in exterior walls. It's definitely in the building codes. You can look it up. It's against building code. They would not be running electrical lines through the exterior of the building. So it's not a power arc, and then it like literally happens right before this whole building starts to come down. But fire could do this, but thermite couldn't. Oh, that was just fire. Guys, that was just fire that did that. It was just fire and the aircraft damage. You can go back to sleep. There were no explosives in the buildings, Even though if you do the research, you can find all the evidence for time windows for who could have planted them and when they could have been planted. It makes a lot more sense than this collapse scenario, which was written by a guy, mostly Frank Gale and Teresa McAllister. We're both employees of Scientific Applications International Corporation, which is a huge scientific-based defense contractor. But they wouldn't have any conflicts of interest in writing this report, even though most of their money and all the managers on this report are employed by the Defense Department, their work through SAIC. That wouldn't have, affected the outcome of this investigation. But anyways, I just think it's kind of hilarious that these the stuff that this guy is trying to put forward to really go against, our evidence and draw skepticism and jeez. This guy, man. he's getting a lot of support and people reading this book, which is probably not that bad. I mean, it's good if you could actually use facts and logic, but the facts in the case of 9/11, the facts are just against him. You can try to like argue the science and really whittle it down to a point on all these different issues, but you can't get around the fact that all they had to do was test for thermite, which involves a expansion of this metallurgy test that was done here with these pulse magnetic resonance imaging, NMR spectroscopy readouts, these things, and the SEM images. So SEM and NMR, that's basically what you need. More sampling, more testing of debris. Of course, you could always say that they could take samples of things that didn't look like this, and that the stuff that did look like this, of course, was on the scrapyard with guys like John Gross picking through it, and that it was probably sifted through quite thoroughly. They could have easily, if they had known where in the building these things were placed and how it was, they could have looked for that afterwards and had that evidence destroyed first. They could have literally sorted through this and pre-picked all the evidence and destroyed all the good evidence. So it's really hard to even prove or disprove that as a point either way, because it's just they did such a terrible job in the aftermath of it, not investigating and the massive destruction of evidence. And to think that there wasn't a reason for that, especially with all the other coincidences and things I pointed out with 9/11. Once you get past the idea of whether there was explosives or not, and like, my God, this debunking 9/11 site that people point me to, it's like, you know how old that thing is and it hasn't been updated? There's numerous lies that are not facts on this site that you can go and look up and find out that no, that is not a fact. There's numerous ones. I can color means nothing. The color can be misleading. It means nothing as evidence. Well, that's not exactly true. It does mean something. It doesn't end all sail, but it definitely doesn't mean nothing. So they say that it's aluminum. They have no real tests. They haven't removed. They don't mention the FEMA report or that metallurgy or that steel. Not in there. It's ignored again. The real hardcore evidence is ignored. They show like these pictures and say that, oh well, this picture is not like doesn't show anything. It's just a bunch of hand waving. Let me see. I can't find the exact things. I was reading through it the other day and I was just laughing at it because I was just like, wow, people like use this as like a source when debating this stuff, and it's like once you get past the idea of whether there was thermite or not, really, and get into who could have put it there, and I really want someone to, and then the whole thing with YouTube, right? YouTube on all the 9/11 videos now, right? So check this out. On all these 9/11 videos, this is my 9/11 video. It's got this link to Encyclopedia Britannica, literally Ministry of Truth propaganda by this guy Peter Bergen, to try to push the official story. And it's just the official story. There's none of the facts that the hijackers were funded by people who were best friends with the Bush family, Bush, Bandar Bush, Prince Bandar, who forwarded money to the head hijackers. Nothing's in there about how Donald Rumsfeld worked inside of Building 7 for Solomon Smith Barney on the as head of the Foreign Policy Advisory Board in Building 7 for the main tenant inside Building 7. It's just these people have their hands all over this. The company that ran security at the World Trade Centers Securicom Stratasec. Of course, president's brother sat on the board of directors, and a bunch of close friends of the Bush family. Oh, I don't know, man. I could go on about 9/11 for hours. How about Alien Con coming up, dude? Alien Con is this weekend. It's happening right now down in Baltimore. People are literally paying money. Like, it's $150 to get your photo taken with Eric Von Daniken. Okay? It's only $50 if you want to get your photo taken with Giorgio. It has a patina Tsoukalos. Oh my God, it has a patina and is therefore an alien Tsoukalos. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I haven't heard of so many of these other guys. Oh, Nick Pope. I know Nick Pope is. Nick Pope's the guy that went on a bunch of debates to try to, dispel the 9/11 conspiracy theory and made an absolute fool out of himself. The Nick Pope 9/11 debates. My God, the man. If you can't even figure out 9/11, you have no business trying to figure out UFOs. Sorry, dude. Geez, these people are it's just crazy. The people who actually know stuff in this field don't go to these conferences. They don't go to these events. I went to a couple of these events and met some people that I was just I got involved. I don't know if I told you guys all the story. I got involved with researching a group that was trying to document the Stan Romanek stuff. And those guys were just so head over heels believing in that Stan Romanek stuff that they would just eat up about anything. And of course, I went and did my own research on Stan Romanek. It's in my debunk bin. I have that whole story about him. He's the guy that had the Denver alien. That was back in 2009, man. This got millions of views, and it's just literally him going to his window and freaking out, and then a stupid alien head popping up. And this video was online for a while, and he was charging money for it on a site and everything too. It's a pay-per-view kind of thing, and shit. Anyways, he had this whole Hamiltonian written backwards in the mirror, and I went and found out that he just borrowed it from one of Hal Puthoff's papers from 2001. So he just basically stole the equations from Hal Puthoff's papers on propulsion, and then said that aliens gave him the formula for warp drive. Yeah, sure they did. He just borrowed it from someone else. Anyways, yeah, I should take some time and update my website too. And but it's just, what's the point? It's people are already getting tons of views on all this other stuff on the internet. Oh, this is the guy. This is the dude who dresses up like Jesus and is betting money, and he's really pushing UFO disclosure as if it's a real thing, man. He's got a lot of followers who are real, supportive of, what he's trying to push, this whole false hopes and false prophets, false idols, man. I'm sorry, man. To the Stars Academy, if another year goes by and we don't have free energy or anti-gravity technology, and you still haven't said anything about quasi-crystals, metamaterials, or cold fusion, and I'm just gonna continue to make videos and laugh about you and stuff, man. Anyways, any questions or anything, man? I'm reading the chat now. We've already been up for 45 minutes, and I'm having a fun time. I hope everyone else is having as much fun as I am. But yeah, what do you think about that word? What would you describe, use, what word would you describe 2018 with? If you could find one word to describe 2018, what would it be? And man, that QAnon stuff, dude. I've been calling this out since I first heard about it. And I'm just like, no. This is like every conspiracy theory wrapped into one. And it blames it all on liberals. Everything's a liberal conspiracy. All the conspiracy theories wrapped into one. It's all liberals, and they're all going to get arrested and the secret indictments and stuff, man. Delusional. Yes. Yeah. Delusions. It is. Tons of delusions, man. It's been a mess. It's been intense. I like this, dude. I don't understand how people believe this. That this could actually be like a real insider, you know, leaking information, and you know, is going to do these through these drops and stuff. And I never attacked this thing, and people started accusing me of attacking it, you know, coming out and attacking it, because I'm like, dude, like, what if it's not real? I just like was like asking questions about, you know, these indictments, and just asking these people questions on I did on the Destroying the Illusion page. That kid Jordan Sather, he gets a huge following, just basically off of was it Destroying the Illusion? That dude, he's gained like a huge following this year. He wasn't that big last year. He was like smaller than my channel last year, and now he's got 159,000 subscribers. And it's just basically like all his channel is he regurgitates old stuff off of Black Vault and AboveTopSecret.com, like stuff from 2012 that we like thoroughly went over and debunked on the old alien scientists forum before it got hacked and shut down. You know, stuff that like is old that people have been over, but he like recycles it with no skepticism and no thought, and just like takes a lot of this to be the real deal. And like he was all proud of himself for going to this conference and sitting at a table with Corey Goode and David Wilcox and Nassim Harriman, and like these guys are his idols. And like those are not the people, like, I mean, you might have thought they're cool because they're popular, but they're not the people I'd really want to be aligning myself with if you really want truth. Which gets me to another thing, this whole secret space program. I really want like someone to give me like who's got the best evidence. Like I want like the best evidence. Like anyone who's got like real good evidence of like what secret space programs exist, what they are, you know, what they're developing, you know, something more than these, you know, a guy like Corey Goode's telling me that he is like a program manager on this, you know, mission from Mars, like on the Space Rangers with a base on Mars and all this, you know, stuff. Anybody have like anything better than just some guy claiming that he's a whistleblower? Oh shit! I'm getting some texts. Maybe look at it. Someone join us. Oh, okay. So that was actually my buddy Dan, and he's been talking with Stanton Friedman about this new Lazar documentary that's coming out, and was going. He actually got on the phone with Stan. He told me he's been talking to Stan like on the phone, and that Stan's passing the debunk for Lazar on to us because he was just blown away by what my buddy Dan knows. And Dan is really like taken over that Lazar case. He knows that case inside and out because he's really big on Lazar and used to be a big supporter and a big follower of Lazar and used to argue all this stuff. So he knows the case like even better than I do. I'm just really into the science issue of it and the science side of it, and you know, a couple other skepticisms that can be drawn on all his, you know, pieces of evidence that he's ever brought forward. But yeah, I want more information on, like, you know, I number all the stuff about if there was a company out there that I would have to say is a secret space program or is involved with anything like that, it would be Bigelow Aerospace, and we've already kind of talked about them and covered them on this this show. And that's a private company, of course, and which makes more sense that if it was a government operation, the way to keep it out of the hands of the government and off records is to do it through a private corporation. Um, I'm sure Bigelow is not the only one, but there are definitely one of them. If there ever was a collusion with secret space programs or secret space industries, it's an aerospace company. It's private. They also share information and documentation with the Air Force on UFOs. The Air Force, after they moved their they stopped officially collecting information on UFOs, and now they just forward all those reports to Bigelow, and Bigelow, he keeps all those records and information on them. So he's definitely a big guy who's big into aliens. He bought Skinwalker Ranch and was yeah. Oh, Corey Good has tried to copyright Secret Space Program. Yeah, huh? Dude, it's kind of like they've taken it to this extreme and used it as like a vehicle to sell all this disinformation. Is really what I see, because they've taken elements of from ufology and from UFO lore and things from above top secret and kind of weaved them all together in this essentially super true, but it's I don't know how all of them can be true simultaneously. I haven't got like a full grasp of exactly what they're what they're trying to say and put forward, because none of them have any evidence. It's all these just like wild theories and wild like, oh, we have bases on Mars and on the moon and stuff, man. It's like, yeah, trillions of untracked dollars, man. They're probably going to yachts and cocaine parties and all kinds of crazy stuff. No bid contracts. There's these companies that get in bed with people in the military, and it's like literally in the military industrial complex, and they literally get these no bid contracts and they give them all to their friends and their families' companies. It's like this one big circle jerk, where they're all one guy's helping the other one out and getting a cut back himself, and it's just sad, man. It's sad to see the state of affairs in 2018. That like this stuff gets super attention. That there's a secret sub base under the Antarctic where the Nazis built this hideaway where they built their UFOs, and they've been flying them in and out of the South Pole and Antarctica, and of course NASA and our government is in bed and involved with all this, and I wish. All I can say is that if you're not after the technology, and I've said this for years, if you're not after, and really that's all I'm in this for. This research is to basically I like to disprove things that I know I can disprove. You can't disprove everything, because it's just like argument from ignorance again. But I like to be able to figure out which things I can weed out as definite disinformation or definite bullshit, and I like to just keep my eye focused on the prize, which is anti-gravity, free energy technologies, that kind of stuff. Something better than our technology we have here on Earth. I haven't talked to Ken. He has not had no communication with him. I sent him a couple text messages many months ago. Not really interested in, talking to him. My take on Antarctica. I don't really have a take on Antarctica. What I think that these people should do that are pushing the whole idea of that there's UFO bases or some kind of secrets or crazy things in Antarctica, I think more people should they should do more drone flyovers, man. There's not enough good drone footage of someone should get the funding up, start a whole expedition to fly to send a ship down to Antarctica and then use it to fly drones, get close enough and then launch some drones and fly drones over the and collect some footage. You know, that would be awesome. There's nothing like that anywhere. Like, especially if you get some like drones that could long range drones that could get good video and just do a whole flyover of a whole continent or something, man. That would be I think that would be really cool. Richard Dolan's CIA insider deathbed confession interview. Is that the dude is like, I was a director for CIA? Let me look this up. Hold up. Oh, this guy. Was that Richard Dolan who put that out? That dude. Oh man. Well, yeah. I haven't watched that in a while, but I remember watching it back in the day, and like basically anyone who knows anything about anything in intelligence matters can spot like at least 10 lies that the guy tells in that interview. I don't even think you want to watch the whole 50 minutes, but I basically found quite a few lies right off the rep. He says he was a director for CIA. That's not true because all the directors that have ever been directors, there's a list, and you can look up everyone who's been director for CIA. And director is like the head of the CIA. There's no one else in the CIA, the company, or the ranks of the CIA that are called directors. There's case officers, and there's agents who don't even work for the CIA who are just managed by case officers. The CIA employs case officers. So like just basically knowledge of how these organizations are structured and operate is all you need to really tell that this guy's lying. There's nothing. He's just borrowing information and recycling it. And definitely was not a director. And yeah, if you want to learn about CIA and how the CIA works, there's a great book on it by Philip Agee. Yeah, Philip Agee, Inside the Company. And there's some. This is old school, so this is a lot probably has changed since the early '80s when, or 1975 when he first published this. But so this was back in '75 when he worked for it and for the CIA, and he got in a lot of trouble for writing this book, man. Not supposed to talk about any of this stuff, but just read the first chapter of this book and teach you a lot. You'll learn a lot about what they go to school, the dark arts, what kind of things they learn in the CIA training, intelligence case officer training school, and it's oh, and then Tesla stuff, man. The Tesla, I've already kind of like gone off on people like with just all this disinformation and nonsense I see about Tesla, because it's like people forget like the man built the AC power motor and built like the first generators at Niagara Falls that was using hydroelectric power. It wasn't free energy. He might have been trying to harness free electrical energy with the Wardenclyffe Tower and experiment with that, but I don't necessarily see that he was ever successful or have like a clear science model behind how that would work to harness free energy or create free energy or harness energy from the atmosphere somehow. So I just think that Tesla's used by a lot of woo scientists out there. I would call them, I think they do it on purpose, So they borrow Tesla for a reason, because he's kind of like this mysterious guy that not a lot of people knew a lot of stuff about and still don't know a lot of stuff about. So he's definitely used a lot. But again, doesn't what you think about, about science, or that Tesla might have been doing. Still, you should really just go to school and learn physics, do experiments. Nikola Tesla was a great experimentalist, and he is a visionary inventor. I definitely think that not even quasi-crystal student. How about this? There's a new company out there. I've been following these guys for a while. I'm actually waiting for a job position to open up on their website that I could actually felt like I would apply for. But metamaterials.com, metamaterial.com. This company, they're up in Nova Scotia, which is not terribly too far away. Probably like probably like a 12-hour drive for me. But man, I would relocate and move here to work for this company. I don't know if I ever find a production technician, maybe, but I don't know if I'd like it more than my current job, or if I'd be able to make as much money. But it's whatever. Again, I don't even use my physics degree. The best job I could get with my physics degree was I only have a bachelor's degree in physics. I'd have to go to grad. I really should go to grad school and get a master's or a PhD in physics. But I only have a bachelor's degree, and the best job that I could ever find was a glorified tech position, making a little over $20 an hour. And now I work in construction. Like, where journeyman or prevailing wage rate in Rhode Island is about $35 an hour. And nothing that I could ever find in physics or would ever compare to that. So that's just kind of what I do now. Construction here in Rhode Island. But man, it would definitely be cool to do something else. I was trying to start that company a year ago, back in December. Really had hopes and dreams for doing something realistic with that if it ever took off. But I just I'm getting too old. I feel I'm 36 now, and I just feel like I'm getting too old and burnt out, and too disillusioned with the scene and everything that's going on to really get my faith or get involved or get too motivated or enthusiastic about getting behind anything at this point in my life. It's kind of like, it's going to happen. I'm going to be here to follow it and watch it happen and report on it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much if I really is my position in this world to do much as far as that goes. Sort of found my niche, and it's an important one, and I think I'll stick to until YouTube bans my channel on Facebook. It's interesting that Facebook and YouTube and all these people, they have this big purge in Google. They're purging a lot of 9/11 stuff, but it's interesting that a lot of my 9/11 pages on Facebook and my 9/11 stuff have not been targeted so much. I was finally first getting the shadow bans, where you like you're like, I'm literally typing on this 9/11 post and getting really engaged in it, and it just logs me out, and I lose what I was typing. And that happened to me like 5 times when I was in that thread with Mick West, really going at him, eating them up, and they would keep deleting my comments, like, I think that was happening on purpose. It just seemed ill-timed, and it hasn't happened since. And I've been off that thread. Yeah, these guys are temporary, but you know what? People are going to realize them for what it is. The more times that they make predictions and support things and make these predictions on things that are not going to come true, And then the more that they say that, and then those things don't end up coming true, the people are going to people are following him and have faith in him, and he's got like that big following because of those regions. He's pushing a lot of those buttons, but once people realize that, you know, that's all it is button pushing, you know, saying that, you know, these 50,000 indictments and that there's going to be arrests and that, you know, the Trump administration, patriots and white hats are going to take care of this problem all by themselves and do it. It's just like, yeah, people are following you for a reason for that, and especially like this rampant neoconservatism and the whole divide that's happening right now with just these people being conservatives and pushing conservatism, pushing Republicans, and having this party alignment that for what reason? Other than it's like our team's fucking winning and it's like yay hey for the Super Bowl, fucking Patriots, let's go. It's like there's no other like political logic or alignment that I see other than they're just and it's a lot of trolling. A lot of people have joined and become political just to troll people who actually know about politics and understand what's going on. It's just like there's like it's funny, like, you know, like people don't know who I am when I'm on Facebook and talking. They don't recognize me, like, or no, they just think I'm some random regular person that doesn't know anything, and they just make all these assumptions about me because I'll leave a comment and then they're like, "Oh, you fucking stupid liberal," and like they're just trolls, like trying to like push your buttons and get a rise out of you, and there's so many, as I mentioned before, so many people and channels out there that have just got into this. Mark Dice. Look at how many over 1 million subscribers, 1,000,000 and like 300,000 subscribers, and like all his latest videos and stuff have been all about just like trolling the left, just trolling everyone. He just trolls constantly. And same thing with that other guy, Paul Joseph Watson. You know, over 1 million subscribers, and you know these guys are just basically becoming like super neocon right wing pundits. Like that's the role they took, man. It's kind of just, yeah. Dice is a perfect example. Both these guys are good examples because they're guys who have reported about 9/11 and all these like truth stuff in the past and kind of like built themselves up from that grassroots. Back in the day, and now they just push this freaking rampant Trumpism and neoconservatism, and you know, yeah, things are ridiculous, but they're like they do it to point out, you know, I don't know, they don't get the bigger picture, you know, they like Mark Dice, he did that whole video where he pushed he dissed he was going off about the Kavanaugh thing, and he was like, "Oh, well, Kavanaugh is going to be your next Supreme Court justice, and you guys could just suck it." And like, really pushing Kavanaugh for no other reason than he's a Republican and a conservative, and they wanted to get another Republican on the Supreme Court, another conservative on the Supreme Court. But Kavanaugh's a Patriot Act author. He's like one of the bad guys. He's one of the worst people you could have on the Supreme Court. And because of his history with just, you know, tyrannical legislation like the USA Patriot Act, anyone involved in that who'd ever, it's just, and that was ignored completely. It just it pushed to the side, and this whole fucking bullshit with that woman who claimed that she was raped by Kavanaugh at a party, you know. Blasey Ford, whatever, yeah, Blasey Ford, and now she's getting investigated for fabricating this rape story and stuff. It's like, of course it was fabricated. The media took a hold of it and ran with it, and it was all a friggin' distraction and a dog and pony show to keep people distracted from, you know, what's really going on. that we just put a friggin' another Bush neocon, another 9/11, co-conspirator basically, gets put into a position, tapped into a position of power. And we got Jordan Sather and all these other guys like, oh yeah, the Kavanaugh, supporting Kavanaugh, and when that whole thing was going on, and it's just like, only because he's a conservative. It doesn't nothing to do with the fact that he comes from the Bush administration, was friends with George Bush, wrote a lot of the Patriot Act for him, and did a lot of like the lawyerly stuff for the Bush administration throughout the 9/11 saga. It's just ridiculous. It's like, anytime I see someone like being that we've never heard of before that's being pushed in, like, they always come from some sort of secret background that goes back to this same fucking cabal of goddamn deep state criminals. And people don't see it. They keep like just going for these people and then getting sucked into these news stories on the side, like, I don't know. Yeah, the most scandalous things. This guy's a turd. Anyways, yeah, there was a lot of people that thought Trump was going to get to the bottom of 9/11, That, people were like, oh, Trump's our best bet, that he's going to really clean things up. Not going to happen, dude. The powerful are going to stay powerful. The rich are going to stay rich. And anyone who thinks they're all going to be arrested and rounded up and put in a camp by someone else is deluding themselves. It's going to have to be like, I don't know. I just don't ever see it like changing or happening. Like, it would have to be some crazy stuff that went on, like where lots of people organized militia, like literally rose up and just started blowing these people's heads off one at a time. Not saying that that people should resort to violence or anything. It just seems like that nothing ever is going to happen. It's like the wrong people get targeted too with the violence too, which is crazy. How about that Black Lives Matter stuff, right? How many cops got freaking killed over the riots and in reaction to these cops that got away with murdering black people, indiscriminately? The Eric Gardner case, which kind of sparked that whole massive friggin' backlash. Cops got murdered over this. People went out and like killed police officers because this fucking punk right here choked this dude out with an illegal restraint and killed him. All right, people should have found out who this guy was, gone after him. These other cops that got killed didn't have nothing to do with this. And it's not just this dude. This fucking piece of shit right here. It's the DA's office in Staten Island, which nobody talked about. They blamed it all on the cops. It's not even really the cops' fault. Like, this cop should have went to jail. He should have fucking got charged with murder. Anybody else who was involved in this and did this to somebody would have got charged with murder, and they would have gone to fucking jail. They would have gone to fucking prison, dude. Hands down. This man is a fucking murderer. That is the face of a murderer, and he should be in fucking prison. And the only reason he isn't is because the Staten Island DA's office, okay, this is where the Staten Island DA's office is, okay? I think it's right here. Yep, so right here, there's Manhattan, right? No. Is that Staten Island? I think this might be it. I'm not exactly sure. But it should be the office of the district attorney's office, where in Staten Island, at that courthouse in Staten Island, where that decision was made not to indict this piece of shit, fucking murderer, who should be in prison, They are the fucking reason that these people in Ferguson rioted, right? So Ferguson, the riots that happened in Ferguson was in Missouri, and they burned, you know, these businesses and these cars, these cop cars, you know, and they had these outrageous protests and stuff, which did nothing, did absolutely zero, nothing to affect the lives of the people that fucking made this all happen and did this. Those people can sleep tight at night. This guy's, you know, not getting charged, so he's cool. It's like, ah, yeah, I got away with killing that big fat black dude. That was awesome. You know, I got away with murder. Literally a murderer, and I'm not going to go to jail for it because I'm protected by a fucking badge in the state. But all these dudes getting angry and like, you know, throwing Molotov cocktails and burning down their neighborhoods in Missouri, right? This is the people they're mad at. They are in a fucking office, and this DA's freaking. If they imagine how much things would have really changed and really would have gotten addressed if they went and burned down the fucking courthouse here and just tore this whole fucking block to the ground instead of this one, right? It would have gotten the message across a fucking hell of a lot better. I'm sorry. It's just like, it's crazy, dude. Yeah, conviction and sentence is what counts, not arrested and charged. Anyone can be arrested and charged with a crime. And there's plenty of people that get arrested and charged with crimes that are bullshit. In fact, I got a story about that. What fucking happened to me this whole year? I beat a fucking case. I didn't get arrested. I got charged with a crime, a ridiculous crime, a made up crime by some fucking punk out there. And I'm gonna do a whole video on this and explain it all too, and go over it because I want people's advice on how I should go forward with suing this asshole. Because I beat the case. I got it dismissed. It was a bullshit case. I got it dismissed, and now I want to sue the fucking asshole for putting me through hell this entire year. I had to go to court fucking 6 times. Oh yeah, they're gonna shut my channel down for inciting violence. I didn't incite any violence. I told them that the violence was misdirected. The violence is misdirected. Okay, there's misdirected violence. It's people who fucking don't know who the fuck their enemy is, who don't know who they should be angry at, and they're fucking misdirecting all their violence and doing it to the wrong people. Okay, that's what I said. I didn't tell anybody to do violence. Just tell them they're fucking misdirecting it. They don't know who their enemy is. They have no fucking clue. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. They're charging people over fucking Facebook posts and fucking YouTube videos and cell phone fucking messages now. It's entirely corrupt and it's entirely tyrannical. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm trying to get some more friggin' fuel for this fire. But yeah, don't be scared, people. Like everyone's scared and paranoid about like, you know, talking out or speaking out or starting their own channel or going forward. And the thing is, just more people need to like. They need to just be real, dude. Like there's so much fake nonsense out there, and people that just it's like the media can do so much to misdirect and mislead people. I don't know who to blame for the. I mean, who else to blame for those riots that happened and that unrest that went down? It's like, I don't know, man. That whole business just makes me mad. And what else has been going on with current events? There's any other news stories that people want me to give my my take on. I'm getting kind of tired now too. I kind of want to go get some food. The election recounts. Well, I don't know. The elections are just crazy, dude. Thought crimes will not be tolerated. Yeah. Oh, the Californian wildfires burning. That's still going on. It's probably directed energy weapons, dude. You know, because they need a freaking laser fired from a plane to freaking start a fire that they could just use a match. But yeah, I don't know, man. All I have to say is that disillusionment is my word for massive disappointment, dude. That feeling of disappointment when you realize that, man, it's not really gonna all be friggin' roses from here on out. We're gonna have to do a lot of work in the next couple of years to fix this planet, and before we're all friggin' doomed. Before the next big event, dude. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Why are they gearing us up with all this UFO stuff? What is going on with all this, the media pushing this to the stars and this disclosure and all this stuff? What is the whole point of that? I always say that anytime the government is seeding the public with information or putting little seeds out there, it's rarely, to grow anything good. It's usually doing it for disinformation purposes or to be used against us later. And I honestly, it looks to me like they're going to be faking an alien invasion or an alien contact or something, man. It's like, what better way? They realize, oh, we can't get people to disarm themselves and take their guns away. Well, what if we told them aliens are making us do it and aliens want us to do it? Then everyone would do it, right? Give your guns away for aliens, dude. Something's like gonna be happening, dude. Like, oh, they want to put the military-industrial complex into space because it's gonna. They want a war in space, dude. You know how profitable a war in space would be? I mean, that's really going to be the next war once we've raped and exhausted all the natural resources here on Earth that we can. Once Afghanistan and all that oil runs dry in Saudi Arabia and Iraq, once all that oil runs dry, we're going to be looking elsewhere for energy and materials. They're going to be mining asteroids in space, and they're going to need space wars, man. It's going to freaking happen, dude. Anyways, it's crazy, man. We have to keep the internet a free and open internet for our own protection, dude. Like, yeah, I agree. The censorship is bad. It's just crazy, dude. They keep them herded and distracted, dude. Keep the herd friggin' focused on something else and distracted with something else, dude. They won't pay attention to the real stuff that's going on. It's pretty ridiculous, man. I don't know. I'm gonna end this here. It's 4:00 p.m. here on the East Coast, and I just got off work. I'm gonna come back later tonight if I can with hopefully a guest on my channel to get some more dialogue going and get some more interesting topics to kind of hash out. Definitely going to be saving the Bob Lazar stuff for after that documentary comes out by Jeremy Corbell Lockyer later in December. And once that comes out, we're literally going to have a live stream where we sit and watch the whole thing, and we'll go over point by point and really break it down for people. And then afterward, I'm going to probably make a summary video on Bob Lazar of just all the best information and points, and put together a big old thing. yeah, man, I'm gonna try and do more. I'm gonna try and do more podcasts and get more active, man, because I have not been doing enough, and just been working and slaving my life away. So I'm gonna get back in the game soon, and we'll keep on up with new topics as they arise, and keep alive, keep researching, stay curious, and definitely stay tuned for more stuff, man. Later, guys.